This is the most underappreciated Nickelodeon show in existence. And why do I know that? Because nobody has ever heard about this show. Nobody knows about it. Even fellow reviewer friends that I've spoken to who review a lot of Nickelodeon content on a pretty much regular basis and look up a lot of different factoids and information regarding a bunch of different shows. When I've spoken to them, they've only briefly heard about this show, maybe by some other content creator that's brought it up, or they heard about it for the first time through me. So that's how I know that this show is really a hidden gem, a diamond that a lot of people don't know about. And I personally have a wonderful experience regarding this TV show because I used to binge watch it all the time as a kid. I fell in love with this TV show. This Nickelodeon show used to be on Netflix, all 2 seasons, I believe. Either it was the first season or 2 seasons, can't exactly remember, but I remember the entire show pretty much was on Netflix, and I used to binge it multiple times during the summer. I would watch it and rewatch it and rewatch it. I fell in love with the concept of the show. I fell in love with the characters, and it just fit my sort of preferences and style. So I hope that by the end of this video, a lot of you guys would probably find out about this cool show. Check it out for yourselves. I believe the entire seasons are on Amazon Prime. I've not gotten that yet, but I hope to do so because maybe I want to eventually start doing an episode by episode review on my channel. But nonetheless, let's talk about that Nickelodeon show, which is none other than The Troop 2009. The Troop 2009 follows the main high school protagonist, Jake, and he ends up taking a aptitude test at his high school. And when he takes this aptitude test at his high school, what ends up happening is that he ends up getting recruited by his administrator to join this secret worldwide organization called the Troop, who focuses on stopping monsters and supernatural phenomena that can endanger humanity. And the people that are included within this group, at least the current team that we're following, includes Haley, played by Gage Golightly, I believe. I think that's how you say her name. If I butchered it, I'm very sorry. But she was the most popular girl in this local high school, Lakewood High School. And then you got David Del Rio, who plays a character named Felix, and he's the main nerd, the main geek of Lakewood High School. So then you got these two working with Jake, and it's an unlikely group of protagonists who have completely clashing personalities, completely clashing mindsets, but they come together to fix this one main goal, to tackle this main mission. Although that sounds pretty stereotypical for Nickelodeon and similar shows, the execution is really well done. I remember loving each and every one of the main characters. You also got the main, I guess kind of like leader and administrator figure of the troop called Mr. Stockley. Mr. Stockley's in there, and he basically kind of assigns missions to the teams. He gives them different pieces of advice and just orchestrates this entire operation.
Don, that's all very helpful information, Don. In fact, Don, I think we're dialoguing really well here, Don.
So why is Mr. Stockley talking like that?
He went to a super persuasion techniques seminar last weekend.
He was telling us about it. It's like, say the guy's name a lot or talk about how good your conversation's going.
And the reason why they choose high schoolers to join the troop is because they figure that high schoolers are young enough that they'll be able to take in information and understand the grasp of supernatural threats and monsters without being skeptical or overly enthusiastic. And at the same time, they're old enough that they understand what job responsibility is. They understand how to take missions seriously. And the older that they become in the group of the troop, then they face more and more dangerous monsters, higher level threats. The show was even promoted as to being like a high school version of Men in Black. And as you'll see in this clip, they even have their own version of the Men in Black light beam, which erases people's thoughts and memories about a situation right after they encounter or capture a monster. But in this case, it deals with a little cute little monster, oh so kawaii desu, one called the Snark.
In your earplugs.
Okay, girl. Go ahead and sing.
Although, as you watch in the show, higher level threats can appear at any time, all right? Because monsters are unpredictable, they're very sneaky, and a lot of the time you might be going on a lower level mission thinking that it's going to be an easy task, and next thing you know, you encounter a monstrous threat that proves to be more than you can handle, but our group of characters manages to figure it out and navigate it. One of the coolest aspects of the show, The Troop, that I used to enjoy so much as a kid, and it brings me just a lot of nostalgia even thinking about it, was they actually created a website for this show. And this website was essentially like a headquarters station, a place that you could log in and pretend that you were a troop member. And they would have all this different information on the cryptids and monsters that existed within this fictional verse. And they would even create mock SketchUps of like people and kids around the world that happen to see monsters. And they would do like editing software where you could be over in London, you know, in your backyard, you go to a lake and you're able to edit a Loch Ness monster on there. And even when you would click on some of these creatures and cryptids, they would have detailed descriptions of them, pictures of them if they were used in the show. Or they would even Photoshop and make mock images, especially if it was a popular cryptid such as like Bigfoot or the Jersey Devil or the Mothman, stuff like that. So this was a really interactive and fun website that I used to visit all the time. And it really made you feel immersed within the show, because if you were a fan of the TV show and you logged onto this website, you would feel like you were a part of the show. You feel like you could enter the world of the troop. You found out about the different weapons and tools they have. You found out about the organization, and it was very much immersive. So what we have today with the SCP Foundation, where you go on Reddit, you go on the internet, and you find out all this detailed, incredible lore about this, you know, SCP organization, which is, for those of you who don't know, an organization which also hunts down monsters and cryptids, but is aimed towards adults. This was that back in 2009. This was a kid-friendly early version of SCP before it blew up and became popular. So this was a early mover, a pioneer in the monster hunting popularity movement, and I very much appreciated that Nickelodeon did that for this show. Another one of the great things about this show is the fact that it's essentially an anthology format. Now, yes, it has the same reoccurring characters in terms of the main protagonist. It takes place in the same setting, the town of Lakewood, the high school, the organization headquarters, and you do have one reoccurring main villain called Gus, who I'll talk about him in a minute. But essentially it is an anthology format show, because each and every episode they deal with a different cryptid. One episode they might be hunting a basilisk, a lizard, that creature that's able to turn people to stone. They might be going after a Mongolian death worm, a reptoid monster, a giant kaiju stone golem thing. They go each and every episode and deal with different creatures, and the powers of those different creatures plays into the dynamic of the episode and what they might be going through. And of course you got slice of life stuff in there. You know, some episodes it might be during prom, some episodes it might be during like a big exam that one of the characters has up and coming. One of the specific episodes that I always remember for being iconic is the episode called Vampsters. Vampsters was about these human vampires that were also a mix of hamsters. Like, they were blood-sucking vampires, I believe, but they had like hamster teeth or whatever. So I guess they were able to turn into a human form as like a form of shape-shifting. It was a really interesting episode. They had these like over-the-top big yellow teeth, these giant bifocal glasses. They all wore like the same gray shirt with like a cap and stuff. It was a really unique, over-the-top, cheesy monster idea, but it meant for a really fun episode. So that was one that I enjoyed a lot. Another noteworthy episode to me was the first episode where the main villain Gus got introduced. Gus was this sort of nerdy, bullied kid. You know, he's not exactly like a geek, but he's sort of that outcast kid that was getting bullied by a lot of people. And what ended up happening was a cryptid monster actually had latched onto him. And this was a monster in the show that was specifically tailored towards having a master. Essentially, this monster would see a host, and the first host that it would see would become its master, and it would follow its every bidding. And this was the most dangerous monster in all of the troop organization's history, because it was always invisible. It essentially had the ability to turn invisible, kind of like the Indominus Rex from Jurassic World. It had a similar bulking, huge size. It was like this giant demon-looking, you know, I don't know, just demon giant kaiju monster. And it had monstrous strength, it had monstrous capabilities, and again, it was undetectable, it was invisible, and it followed the host every single command. So Gus actually managed to become the master of one of these monsters, and this monster had a history of killing troop members. That's right, this show had confirmed kills and confirmed deaths in it, and this monster had claimed the lives of several troop members in the past. So it was deemed like the highest level threat to the organization, and this bullied kid managed to get his hands on it. So it kind of had a little bit of like, I don't want to say this as like a drastic example, but it kind of had a little bit of like, you know, revenge, you know, exploitation, like, you know, kind of school shooter-ish undertones to it, where this, you know, really outcast bullied kid is now getting revenge. He's now trying to kill his bullies. He's now trying to get rid of some of the troop members, and he tries to get rid of Felix and Jake because he thinks that they are stopping him from getting with Haley. He ended up getting a crush on Haley. It was unhealthy. She found out that he was psycho and he still wanted her, and he ends up deciding, well, these guys are cock blocking me, these guys are stopping me from getting with her, so I'm just gonna off them. Really crazy episode. And then he ends up returning later, because after the troop ends up defeating him the first time, he ends up getting sent to a mental asylum because people think that he's crazy, that he's imagining monsters and shit, which is really funny. And he ends up actually befriending a guy, an inventor in the mental asylum, who creates a device that can communicate to monsters and send out signals to attract them and send them into feeding frenzies. So he ends up basically using that to kill the staff in the mental asylum and break out. And he ends up finding ways to get some revenge on the troop again, coincidentally on his birthday. Again, there's a lot of crazy episodes in this show, a lot of cool plots and stuff. I really, really dig the monster hunter dynamic and gimmick of the show. I pretty much like all the characters. David Del Rio, Gage Golightly, Nicholas Purcell, they all do a great job of playing their characters, and they're very much likable and lovable. I know in season 2 that David Del Rio, who plays Felix, actually had to step away from the show due to other obligations he had, which broke my heart as a kid. Seeing that Felix was not in season 2 was really heartbreaking, because they replaced him with the new guy. Not to, you know, shit on that new guy, but I was really attached to Felix. And it's sort of that thing where this has happened in a couple of shows that I grew up as a kid, where you get so attached to the main cast of characters that when some situation arises and they have to change cast members, it makes you hard to get invested in the show still. And that's kind of how I felt. But now as an adult, I will watch season 2 eventually and give it a full watch and see. One of the good things was that David Del Rio actually said that if the show continued on to, I believe, like season 3 or something, he would return. But unfortunately, the show got canceled during season 2. The last, I think, few episodes did not air. So unfortunately, the show did not make it. And that's one of the most unfortunate things about this TV show, is the fact that it got canceled. The fact that views were going down, the fact that maybe the casting change had something to do with it or influence it. But honestly, if you ask a lot of people who've seen this show, they are huge fans of it. They absolutely love this show. A lot of people remember loving it. A lot of people have nostalgia towards it. You know, you just had to be there when it was out. And me personally, I've watched a little bit of some of these episodes, especially the pilot one, Welcome to the Jungle. And that same magic got restored for me. So if you're a kids horror fan out there, if you're a Nickelodeon fan and you're looking for a cool show to watch, please go check out The Troop, because it feels like a child-friendly version of SCP, deals with monster and cryptid hunting, which is one of my favorite subgenres and topics involving TV shows and horror. And all the characters are likable. It's such a fun show. It's got that anthology format with different creatures they face, along with some, obviously interconnecting storylines. It's just a really great time. And I suggest that all of you guys go watch it. This, to me, is the most underappreciated and the most underrated Nickelodeon show out there. Almost nobody knows it exists. Those people who do know it exists say that they love it. And yeah, man, I wish that, this type of show could be remade, could be brought back. But unfortunately, things aren't the same way that it was back then. A lot harder demand, a lot more competitive. I get that. But I would just love to bring the show back with better special effects and, better stuff, and even just bring back some of the same old cast members. I think that having Nicholas Purcell, David Del Rio, Gage Golightly, I think that having all those guys back on potentially a reboot or even like an interview to ask them about their experiences on the show, that would be really cool, and that'd be really sick to have. But nonetheless, that's all I got. So yeah, this is one of my favorite childhood shows, easily one of my favorite Nickelodeon shows out there, and it gets my top recommendation. If you like this little bit of a retrospective revisit episode of The Troop, feel free to support me by hitting that subscribe button down below, hitting that like button, and hitting that post notification bell. I would love if we're able to surpass 1,000 subscribers before the end of this year. If we can do more than that, great. If we can get close to that, equally as fantastic. So please share this video. Please consider subscribing if you see this. It'd mean the world to me. Getting to 1,000 subs would be really, really awesome. But at the same time, the most important thing is I hope you guys check out this recommendation and give it a chance, And also, if you want me to do individual episode reviews of The Troop for the future, comment it down below. Tell me that you want me to review it. Throw up some fire emojis down there. I'll treat that as, you want me to review it. Because I would honestly really enjoy going episode by episode, analyzing and reliving my nostalgic fun. That's all I got for today. Hope you guys have a blessed day. Stay cool, stay classy, stay chill, and stay smiling and stay happy. And yeah, I hope to see you next time on this channel. God bless, and deuces. I got nothing left to say at the end of the video, but I guess we can cut out with a bit of the Troop theme song. Hit it, baby.
Do not put laxatives inside of a Bigfoot's deer carcass. If you do, that motherfucker is gonna be pissed, yo. Listen, man, I did not mean for you to get the shit like that. Alright, oh shit, he's behind me. I gotta dip. Maybe Mothman can help me out.
Also, note to self, the local crackhead in your neighborhood is not a pale skin crawler the rake. I made a fatal and utter judgment in that. I thought he left behind a scent trail. Turns out he actually just spilled some cocaine. And now he's offering me pixie stick dust in exchange of $500 and some Nutella spread. At least I hope those Nutella spread. Oh shit, he's back. I gotta go.